Good morning class 10th. Today we will be starting with second chapter of geography, that is forest and wildlife resources. We share this planet with millions of other living beings, starting from microorganisms and bacteria, lichens, to banyan trees, elephants and blue whales. So humans share this planet Earth with millions of other living beings, different animals, different plants and different kind of insects. This entire habitat that we live in has immense biodiversity. So in the environment or the place that we live in has immense biodiversity. What do you mean by biodiversity? Biodiversity is immensely rich in wildlife and cultivated spaces. So biodiversity means that a country, a nation or a place that is very rich in wildlife, animals and cultivated spaces, that is plants or crops. Diverse in form and function. Now animals are diverse in form, plants are diverse in form, they have different kind of cells, different kind of structure and function. They have different functions but closely integrated in a system through multiple network of interdependencies. But all of the living beings, all of the things are integrated, are connected with each other through a system of multiple network of interdependencies. Like the plants are dependent on animals and insects to transfer the pollen, to transfer the seeds so that more plants can grow. The animals are dependent on plants as well. Humans are dependent on animal as well as plants. The plants are also dependent on humans. So it is a very complex network or multiple network of interdependencies. Different living organisms depend on different things or different living beings. So continuing with above, this entire habitat that we live in has immense biodiversity. So there are different kind of species. In form and function they differ. We humans, along with all living organisms, form a complex web of ecological system in which we are only a part and very much dependent on this system for our own existence. So humans, along with all living organisms, we form a complex web of connection of ecological system. Ecological system refers to the interaction between the living organism to the abiotic components like air, water, land to the non-living things. So humans along with all living organisms form a complex web of interactions with non-living things or with living things in which we are only a part and very much dependent on this system for our own existence. So we are a part of this complex web of ecological system of the interactions for our own existence, and we depend on all these things for our own existence. Like we depend on air, we depend on water, we depend on oxygen. So for example, the plants and animals and microorganisms recreate the quality of air we breathe, the water we drink and the soil that produces our food, without which we cannot survive. So we depend on plants for oxygen, we depend on animals and microorganisms to maintain the quality of water and to maintain the quality of soil. Like how do microorganisms or insects maintain the quality of soil? If you remember that the earthworms till the soil, like they go inside, dig the soil and they go inside the soil and bring the fertile soil from beneath the earth to the above surface. So that's how they fertile the soil, by continuously, many of the earthworms continuously keep on digging the soil and bringing the fertile soil into the top layer. So that's how they recreate the quality of the soil. The air, how the plants recreate the quality of the air by producing more and more oxygen. So this is a very complex web of ecological system of interactions between the living things and non-living things. In ecological system, there is an interaction or interrelationship of living things with non-living things so that both can survive. Forests play a key role in the ecological system as these are also primary producers on which all other living beings depend. So forests play a key role. Forests play a very important role in ecological system in maintaining the interaction between the non-living and living things, as these are also the primary producers on which all other living beings depend. As forests produce oxygen, that's why it is very important for all other living beings. So ecological system is the interaction of living beings to the non-living beings as well as living beings to other living beings. So forests maintain that connection between the living beings. Now the second topic is flora and fauna in India. The flora is the plants species and the fauna is the animal species in India. If you look around, you will be able to find that there are some animals and plants which are unique in your area. That is only found, some animals and plants that is only found in your area. In fact, India is one of the world's richest countries in terms of its vast area of biological diversity. So India is one of the richest countries in terms of biodiversity, biological biodiversity. That is, we have different species, many different species of plants as well as very different species of animals. So we have a lot of biodiversity and has nearly 8% of total number of species in the world, and we have among the total number of species we have 8% of the total. The total number of species for now is estimated to be 1.6 million, and we have 8% of these 1.6 million species. This is possibly twice or thrice the number yet to be discovered. So these are the species, 1.6 million are the species that has been found, that has been discovered, that humans know about. But there is a lot of species out there that is still not known. A current study tells us that there is 8.7 million species out there that is yet to be discovered. You have already studied in detail about the extent and variety of forest and wildlife resources in India. You may have realized the importance of these resources in our daily lives. So, you may have realized in this topic in the ecological system that how important different wildlife resources or the animals and the forest are for us, like how they provide us with food and shade. The forest or trees provide us shade as well as oxygen. So, for humans they are very important. You may have realized the importance of these resources in our daily life. These diverse flora and fauna are so well integrated in our daily life that we take these for granted. So the different kinds of flora and fauna are so well integrated, are so well connected in our daily life that the humans have taken them for granted. Like we are cutting the forest in a very rapid pace. We are not taking care of the forest when they are giving us so much of the things like oxygen that is very necessary for human survival. So we are not taking care of them and we are taking them for granted. But lately they are under great stress, mainly due to insensitivity to our environment. So lately, in the current time, they are under great stress. They are getting extinct or ending. Some of the species are getting extinct due to insensitivity, because we are very insensitive towards our environment. We are not taking care of the environment that is giving us so many things. Some estimates suggest that at least 10% of India's recorded wild flora and 20% of its mammals are on the threatened list. So some estimates tell us that at least 10% of India's recorded wild flora of the recorded, that is of the species that we know, and 20% of its mammals are on a threatened list. That is, they are threatened or they can finish very fast if we don't care of them. Many of these would now be categorized as critical, and if we see now, they are on the critical, on the verge of extinction. Threatened list, that is, they can get finished or they can get extinct if we don't care for them, and critical is where only one or two of them are left and we have to collect them and protect them, otherwise they will be extinct. That is on the verge of extinction, like the cheetah, pink-headed duck, mountain quail, forest spotted owlet, and plants like Maduca insignis, a wild variety of mahua, and Habardia heptanioron, a species of grass. In fact, no one can say how many species may have already been lost. These are the ones that we know that exist, of the species that has been known. But there are many species that we still don't know, that we still haven't discovered. So how many of those kind of species has been lost due to the cutting of trees, due to the change in the climate, we still don't know. Today we only talk of the larger and more visible animals and plants that have become extinct. But what about smaller animals like insects and plants? So there has been a wide variety of insects, wide variety of plants, aquatic plants and the terrestrial plants that might have become extinct and we still wouldn't have known. Vanishing forest. The dimensions of deforestation in India are staggering. The speed of deforestation in India is very huge. The forest and tree cover in the area is estimated, in the country is estimated at 79.42 million hectare. So in this area, in this million hectare area, there is forest and tree cover, which is 24.16% of the total geographical area. Dense forest 12.2%, open forest 9.14% and the mangrove 0.14%. According to the State of Forest Report 2015, the dense forest cover has increased by 3,775 square kilometers since 2013. So with the government taking steps for planting trees, the government has started taking steps for afforestation. So due to that, the dense forest cover has increased by 3,775 square kilometers since 2013. However, this apparent increase in the forest cover is due to conservation measures. So as I told you that the government is taking steps to conserve the trees, to afforest. Management interventions, the government has started intervening and plantation, and we have started planting the trees, etc. by different agencies, by government agencies as well as some NGOs has been taking major steps. Environmental NGOs, environmental agencies, environmental activists, they have been taking steps for these measures. They have been pushing the government to do conservation measures and management intervention, as well as they have themselves been planting many of the trees. Let us now understand the different categories of existing plants and animal species. Based on the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, we can classify as follows. So we will be classifying the species now. The normal species, endangered species, vulnerable species, rare species, endemic species and extinct species. So we will be now understanding the meaning of these species. Normal species, species whose population levels are considered to be normal for their survival, such as cattle, sal, pine, rodents, etc. So the population level is good enough for them to survive. Endangered species, these are species which are in danger of extinction, that is they can extinct at any time if we don't care for them. The survival of such species is difficult if the negative factors that have led to decline in their population continue to operate. So they might get extinct if we don't care for them. If we let the poaching of, that is the killing of animals, to continue, the hunting to continue, if we let the hunting of these endangered species to continue, they will end in no time. So if the negative factors that have led to the decrease in their population continue to operate, they will become extinct, they will end. The examples of such species are black buck, crocodile, Indian wild ass, Indian rhino, lion-tailed macaque, sangai, that is brow enter deer in Manipur, etc. Vulnerable species, these are species whose population has declined to levels from where it is likely to move into endangered category in the near future if the negative factors continue to operate. So there was a huge population of these species, of vulnerable species, but the population number has declined to levels where we are fearing that they might enter the endangered category. If their number continues to decrease, they might enter the endangered category in the near future if the negative factors continue to operate. The examples of such species are blue sheep, Asiatic elephant, Gangetic dolphin, etc. Rare species, species with small population may move into endangered or vulnerable category if the negative factors affecting them continue to operate. So they were rare from the start only. There were very few number of these kind of species, and now these small population can get smaller and get into the endangered or the vulnerable category. From the start only, the population was not very big. So we have to stop the negative factors to continue affecting the species. The examples of such species are Himalayan brown bear, wild Asiatic buffalo, desert fox, and hornbill. So they were very few in number from the start only, and now if we let the poaching, the killing of animals, or the climate to change, they might become extinct or might enter the category of endangered or vulnerable. Endemic species, these are species which are only found in some particular areas, usually isolated by natural or geographical barriers. So endemic species are the species that are particularly found in some areas only, which are isolated, which humans have not penetrated yet, and it's isolated by natural or geographical barriers. Examples of such species are the Andaman teal, Nicobar pigeon, Andaman wild pig, Mithun in Arunachal Pradesh. So still these species are safe for now because of the natural and geographical barriers. Extinct species that has been extinct now, these are species which are not found after searches of known or likely areas where they may occur. So these are species which were found in a particular area or likely areas, and now they have been extinct from that areas. A species may be extinct from a local area, region, country, continent, or the entire earth. So we don't know if it's only a local area that the species has stopped living in, or the region, country, or the continent, or the entire earth. Examples of such species are Asiatic cheetah, pink-head duck. So these are the species that has become extinct, that was found before, but now they can't be found in the areas that we knew that they live in. So for now, we just take them in the extinct category because we can't find them. Asiatic cheetah, where did they go? The world's fastest land mammal, the cheetah, is a unique and specialized member of the cat family and can move at the speed of 112 km per hour. The cheetah is often mistaken for a leopard. So we many times mistake cheetah for leopard. Its distinguishing marks are the long teardrop shaped lines on each side of nose from the corner of its eyes to its mouth. So how can we distinguish or differentiate between a leopard and a cheetah? With the long teardrop shaped lines that run from the nose from the corner of its eyes to its mouth. Each side of the nose from the corner of its eyes to its mouth. Prior to the 20th century, cheetahs were widely distributed throughout Africa and Asia. So we could have found in the 20th century, we could have found them in Africa and Asia. Many places of Africa and Asia. Today, the Asian cheetah is nearly extinct because due to the decline of available habitat and prey. So now, as we have cut down the forest, we have cut down the trees, so the habitat, the place or the environment in which the cheetah lived in, that declined. And with the decline of that place, the prey for the hunt for the cheetah became more difficult, and that's why they started declining. The number of cheetahs started declining and they are nearly extinct now. The species were declared extinct in India long back in 1952. So in Asia, we find that they are nearly extinct, but in India, we are sure that they became extinct in 1952. So with the humans cutting down the trees, making their habitat go away, the cheetah has now become extinct. What are the negative factors that cause such fearful depletion of the flora and fauna? So we will start with the negative factors that cause depletion or the extinction of the flora and fauna, that how the plants and the animals are becoming extinct. What are the causes for that? Negative factors. If you look around, you will be able to find out how we have transformed nature into a resource obtaining directly and indirectly from the forest and wildlife. So as you look around, that we have transformed the nature into the resource obtaining. Like we have started obtaining all the resources from the nature, directly or indirectly. From the forest as well as the animals, the wildlife. The wood, barks, leaves, rubber, medicine, dyes, food, fuel, fodder, manure, even the skins of animals we use, even the meat, eggs, etc. So it is we ourselves who have depleted our forest and wildlife. As I have just told you that the cheetah became extinct because of the loss of habitat. cheetah lives in forest, and if we cut down the forest, the animals, the prey that the cheetah used to hunt will come out of the forest, and now the cheetah can't hunt in the towns or something, so it will get killed by hunger or by the people. That's how it became extinct. The greatest damage inflicted on Indian forest was during the colonial period due to the expansion of the railways, agriculture, commercial and scientific forestry and mining activities. So during the colonial period, when the Britishers were taking over the country, they expanded railways, agriculture, commercial and scientific forestry and mining activities. So they cut down the forest for the timber to make the railway tracks, and they used to cut down the forest to make the railway tracks. For agriculture also, they wanted more lands to produce commercial products as well as the food products. Like they were planting indigo also, they were planting rice also to send back to Britain. Commercial and scientific forestry, they were only producing some types of the plants that is very high value in commercial areas. And mining activities, they started doing mining activities in most of the areas to take out the iron and valuable metals. Even after independence, agricultural expansion continues to be one of the major causes of depletion of forest resources. So as the population continued to be expanding in India, and with increase in population, we also need more food. So for the food, we started expanding agriculture, continuing to expand agriculture, and due to that, the forest resources depleted further and further. Between 1951 and 1918, according to the Forest Survey of India, over 26,200 square kilometers of forest area was converted into agricultural land all over India. So according to Forest Survey of India, between 1951 and 1980, this much square kilometer of area was converted into agricultural land. Substantial parts of the tribal belts, especially in the northeastern and central India, have been deforested or degraded by shifting cultivation, a type of slash and burn agriculture. So a huge part of the tribal belt, especially in the areas of northeast and central India, they have been deforested, cutting down or degraded by shifting cultivation. Tribal people used to do shifting cultivation, jhum kheti, a type of slash and burn agriculture. They used to cut down the trees or burn the trees, and on the empty area they used to produce vegetation, or they used to produce the crops. So this type of jhum kheti has also made a lot of forest area to deplete, as the tribal belts of these areas have been deforested and degraded by shifting cultivation. Are colonial forest policies to be blamed? Should we blame the colonial forest policies, that how the Britishers used their policies to end the forest? Should we blame that? Some of our environmental activists say that the promotion of a few favored species in many parts of India has been carried through the ironically termed enrichment plantation, in which a single commercially valuable species was extensively planted and other species eliminated. So what did the Britishers do? They favored a few species that was very valuable. So they planted that species in India, and they called it enrichment plantation, that we are enriching the plantation, that we are increasing the plantation in India. But what were they doing? They were eliminating some of the species. They were cutting down some of the forest and were placing valuable species, producing single commercially valuable species, that is very valuable for the commercial purposes, for selling purposes in the world market. So they were producing such kind of species that was valuable in the world market, and they were cutting the other kind of species that they couldn't sell. So they were producing the timber trees and the teak trees, and they were cutting down the other type of trees. For example, the teak monoculture, that is, monoculture means only producing one kind of tree, that is teak, has damaged the natural forest in South India. Due to that, the natural forest of South India was cut down for producing teak. And chir pine, Pinus roxburghi plantations in the Himalayas have replaced the Himalayan oak. So they have cut down the Himalayan oak to produce the chir pine. And rhododendron forest. So they have cut down the Himalayan oak and the rhododendron forest for the chir pine, because these type of forest or this type of trees were not, the Britishers were not able to sell them, so they cut it down and produced the chir pine. And they cut it down the natural forest of South India and they started producing teak only. So I told you monoculture means only a single type of culture, a culture where only one thing is produced. So for teak, they damage the natural forest in South India, and for chir pine, they damage the Himalayas natural plants, that is Himalayan oak and the rhododendron forest. So here we will end the video for now. I hope you understand the topics. We will be continuing the topic in the next video.